Q&Asa. Game on Daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&Asa. This is kind of, I guess it's still a weekly show where the past, present and future of gaming, they all converge and we talk about all kinds of things on YouTube and on Twitch. Most people are on the tube, but I see Ali Thompson is over on Twitch already, so welcome wherever you may be right now. Today is going to be like every other Q&Asa. I'm going to talk and talk and talk. It's a conversational show, so I'm going to talk, you're going to talk, you can talk to me, you can talk to each other, and we'll see where the topics take us. I do have a couple of things vaguely lined up, but mostly we just talk about games and it always just seems to sail by. If conversation doesn't suit you, if you're typing away on YouTube or on Twitch and you're getting mad that no one it's a late one, Baz, it's a little bit late, I'm sorry. If you're getting mad that no one is responding to your liking, you can throw money at the screen in a fit of rage and yell in a super chat, all in caps, to say I'm fucking angry, pay attention to me, and we will all pay attention to you. That's an option. You can also, if you're feeling a little more civil and you just want to get your face and your voice onto the internet, you can do that. You just stick yourself in the queue on Discord. We have a wonderful Discord server with a community that is pretty brilliant, actually. The community on Discord are really, really good. We set right from the start some very simple ground rules, and it seems to have worked wonders and drawn good people into a little community. So if you are wanting to get onto Discord and show your face and your voice, we've got waiting rooms in the Gaming Arcadia Discord. Stick yourself in the waiting room and you can come and talk to us for 2 or 3 minutes just to say whatever it is that you want to say. Besides that, Replicant, it's asking me to pop onto Steam. The thing is, Replicant, if I literally open Steam right now, and it has any updates or any games waiting, then it will tank the stream. So at some point this evening I can do that, or I can have a look in a browser and that won't tank the stream in the same way. But I'm going to be a little bit reluctant to actually open the Steam app because I don't know what it's going to do. Ali, if you are on Twitch right now and you want to see, unfortunately Twitch won't allow me to cross-pollinate the chats. It would be quite easy to do. I could find ways to let you talk to each other quite easily, but it's against Twitch's terms, so I haven't done it. If you do pop onto YouTube, there are always a lot more people there, a lot more conversation there. So it's a good evening. Isla's in Burger King. That's the place to be, I suppose. And yeah, so Discord, that's an option. At some point, when Isla's not in Burger King, when she's out of there and free to do what she wants, the Q&A box will appear. If you want to stick questions onto YouTube or Discord or wherever else, at the end of the show we get those and we do them one by one. It's already there, apparently. It is already there. I can see it. It's already there. Isla, it's not a case of opening my eyes. I have to open my eyes but also turn my head almost 90 degrees to see that. Because I do have a nice, what's the word, like amalgamated chat that shows me YouTube and Twitch. It doesn't show me the Q&A box. I have to turn my head drastically, and that's the limit of my neck flexibility. Ali has appeared over on YouTube as well, so everyone's all in the same place at the moment. People might turn up on Twitch. Typically, like generally speaking, I have not mastered Twitch. I don't know how to get anybody to notice that. Although Thomas Salah might help me in the near future. So, is that all of the options? I feel like I've missed something. There's Discord, there's throwing money, there's Q&A box. Typically, let's get on with it, eh? Let's get on with it. This show is sponsored by Gaming Arcadia. Look, Gaming Arcadia is the channel. It's brilliant. And oh no, no, the mug is too close to green. So my green screen has decimated my really fancy merchandise, which is something I need to bear in mind. It's not even actually green. Nonetheless, nice merch, nice merch. Looks great. Yeah, so the background today is indeed Ghostwire Tokyo. Most importantly, a lot of the time, not at this particular moment, but a lot of the time, it rains. And you know I like some weather in my games, so. Baz has said, so Baz has been a member for 8 months. You just saw all the little flashy sparkles and stuff. He's used his 8-month membership badge thing. Baz, thank you for being a member for as long as you have and for supporting it like you do. I saw you said at the end of yesterday's podcast at the Arcadia Roundtable that you were here because you don't have other friends. I don't want to expose you publicly, but that's the same for a lot of us, I'm sure. To have those feelings from time to time. Stick around, don't feel bad about it. And I've lost what you actually said. So you said, how much do you think you've spent on gaming? What, lifetime? How much has someone spent on gaming lifetime? Oh, at least £3 a year. At least £3 a year. It depends. What are you including that, Baz? Are you including hardware as well? Here's a different question. Do you think that you spend more on gaming now than you did 10 years ago? I can't like do live maths and figure out how much I've spent over the course of my life and figure out how much I even spend vaguely in a year. But do you reckon you spend more now than you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Replicant, you spent too much, you need an intervention. We need to average out you in episode 13. Find some middle ground where you're both comfortable. We are indeed, Ali, all gamers. So excited to me. You think because of Game Pass you're spending less? Xbox obviously had that stat. This was when Game Pass was fresh and hadn't expanded very far. You could argue it still is fresh and still hasn't expanded very far, but they had their little slide that said, on average, the people that have Game Pass spend more money than are like gamer. And it was a very flimsy, like wishy-washy slide that didn't really explain how they were taking this like-for-like comparison. But whereas on the surface, you'd look at Game Pass and say it saves me money. According to Microsoft's own slides on the topic, the opposite was true. Game Pass makes you spend more money. This was probably like 3 or 4 years ago, so I don't know if the Game Pass audience has shifted over that kind of period of time. Patrick, much fewer responsibilities 10 years ago, but did you have more money 10 years ago? Because it's obviously responsibilities and available time and all the rest of it are factors, but you've also got how much disposable income you've got and how much like the commercial models around games have changed in that time. As much as the price of the games hasn't like massively changed, at least not against inflation and all the rest of it, the way that they're monetized around it definitely has changed. Publishers have definitely constantly, relentlessly prodded and pried to try and find ways to get more money per game and per person. So FTW would think maybe on microtransactions, but you wouldn't guess actual games. But what do you know? But microtransactions, actual games, it's all money going for those same publishers and platforms, right? Ali, you were addicted to Call of Duty for years, and that was the majority gamer. You got Game Pass, got back into playing all games. You don't touch Call of Duty now, and you spend a fortune now on games. Yeah. Do you think it's better that way? I used to play. I've gone through phases where I would like play just World of Warcraft for like a year or two or something, or just an older, better MMO, and hardly touch other games in that time. Probably saved myself a bunch of money, but still having a good time in my own right. So who knows what's best. Nowadays I play way too much, as much as I can, hardly finish anything, try and get across all of the games, and I don't know how much of that is driven by the fact that it's how I want to engage with the content, or how much of it is how I need to engage with the content to have any awareness of it to talk about it. You're an RPG addict now. What kind of RPG? What kind of RPG? I've got like a huge backlog specifically of Japanese RPGs that I try and have. I try and keep that like tap flowing, one game coming through at a time, but try and keep one on the go the whole way, specifically for the Japanese ones. I should do the same for Western ones, but I'm not sure. I've only got one tap available. Replicant, you must have spent thousands on World of Warcraft subs over the past 19 years. Have you been a constant subscriber since it launched? Did you get that little trophy thing for 15 years or whatever it was? Either you've been waiting for 12 minutes in Burger King still. It's definitely not going to be worth it. Ali, FPS boost made you by Dark Souls 3, and now you've got to complete all of the FromSoft games, and you got 1,000 gamer score in Sekiro, you completed Witcher 3, Skyrim, and Dragon's Dogma, so you're a Western RPG. A Western RPG connoisseur now, playing through all of those. Will you go for like Baldur's Gate 3 as well, or do you need it to be the more action-oriented style of RPG? Obviously you haven't got time now with Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out any minute. Replicant spent a small country's GDP on WoW subs. The WoW subs are gentle, Patrick. The problem is Replicant also likes to dabble in the occasional race change, server shift, you know, the rest of the World of Warcraft store. Gamsley, is Final Fantasy VII really that good? You love it and hate it at the same time. I love it and hate it at the same time as well. I don't hate it, that's a strong word. I think any criticism that the open world Ubisoft nature of it detracts from the narrative that it's trying to tell is very, very valid, because I've played that game for 16 hours now and I haven't followed the plot for at least 14 hours now. I have not pushed it forwards, progressed it in any way. So it could be that the plot turns out really, really good, but I've just been running around doing Chadley's Ubisoft adventure. So we'll see, Gamsley. It really is that good in some regards, but I will judge it properly when I've seen what it has to offer, I suppose. I don't know if it wasn't Final Fantasy VII, if this was a brand new adventure that had no nostalgia attached to it, then I may well have walked away from it by now. But it does have that nostalgia attached to it. It does already have those hooks in me, so we shall see. Question for you then, Gamsley. When I've finished Final Fantasy VII and my JRPG tap is ready to go, what should be the next one? Should it be Unicorn Overlord or Tales of Arise? I know you've done both of those on the old Game Pass. Tell me which one I should prioritize between them. I've also got, there's a Star Ocean game on the list as well. Tales of Arise before Unicorn Overlord, says Replicant. Interesting. And Gamsey says Unicorn Overlord. So I will have to play neither then, because there's no other way to settle that. I don't want to upset anyone, you know. Ali, you played Tales of Arise for 10 minutes and you binned it. You couldn't get into JRPGs. Don't take Tales of Arise to be indicative of all Japanese RPGs though, because it's very much not. I've not even played it, but I know that the Tales series is its own thing. Has its own feel to it. I mean, if you just... It depends. I guess it depends what it is that puts you right off of it. But if you like Fire Emblem, play Unicorn. After Final Fantasy VII, if I play Tales, I want to shoot myself. That's a good point, actually. I do like... I'm not actually a massive Fire Emblem fan, but I like Shining Force. I like tactics games like it. I might really like Fire Emblem. I didn't really like Three Houses though. Put over 100 hours into it. Didn't hate it, but the style of game, abso-frickin-lutely. So maybe I'll get Unicorn in first. I don't know. You're right that the more direct following from Final Fantasy to Tales with the slightly action focused gameplay, I might need a palate cleanser in between them. Yeah. You're just counting the days for Dragon's Dogma 2. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 does look phenomenal. Have you been playing around with the character creator? Has anyone here been playing around with the character creator? You said sorry for the wait. You said it's okay. It wasn't okay, but you're nice. That's what the British are known for, right? Tony's had today off. How's T-Rex getting on, Tony? Painful discourse. I'm not sure what that's a response to, but... Did I play Tales of Vesperia? I didn't actually like Vesperia very much. So I played... God, I hate the names of those games. Is Vesperia the PlayStation 3 one? And the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 one, where the PS3 one had all of the extra dialogue. The Zesteria, Vesperia, Tyria. They all have really like silly rhymey names and I can't remember which is which. I've played through one of them in its entirety. Adriano, Italiano. Have I played Pacific Drive with the UEVR injector? It's quite good, is it? Does obviously the driving makes a lot of sense in VR, but does all the in-betweeny stuff work? You can possibly tell from my response where I ask, is it? I haven't done that yet, but I really want to. So it was like 16, 17 quid on CD keys as well. So. What has Pete been doing for the boobs? Dragon's Dogma character creator. I don't think, see, I've seen Pete's Dragon's Dogma character. I don't think he did it for the boobs. Vesperia is the 360 exclusive one. It didn't stay 360 exclusive, did it? Or, no, it didn't, because the PS3 version had all the extra content and the English dialogue, I think. Or am I backwards on that? I thought it was 360 exclusive for like a year. And then the PlayStation 3 got a better version. And then the remastered version that you can get on both consoles is the PlayStation 3 version, like with all the extra content and stuff. And I played it for like a couple of hours, but I didn't really like it very much. Don't know why, just didn't. Can't remember why, just didn't. You did remember a relevant game. Did come out later for other consoles, yeah. Fair enough. Did you enjoy that one, Sidestorm, or is that why you're asking? It was obviously right, received well enough that they felt the need to re-release it much later. Xbox was so hungry back then securing JRPGs. Yeah, they had a few. They were very much trying. Obviously, they had the ones that they funded with Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. They had a musical one from Bandai Namco, and I can't remember what that was called. And they had a Tri-Ace game. I also can't remember what it was called. But yeah, it would be nice to see them try and secure more of those. Because, you know, I have that constant tap I need to keep running. But then, obviously, they put quite a bit of money into securing those and didn't actually make a dent in it. Symphonia, yeah, that was the musical one. Thank you, Captain Awesome. Painful discourse. That face is too far away and too small for me to recognize what the expression is, so I'm going to assume it's a massive grin. Good memory, not me. Captain Awesome has the good memory. He remembered what the game was called. Isla is driving, which means it's precisely the time to ask for the first question, please. It's not really, Isla, don't panic. Just drive. Okay, what I haven't done is I've forgotten how the show runs entirely and not even asked you what you've been playing. So it's not question time, episode 13, I'm only messing. Tell me please, what have you been playing this week? Because I talked a little bit about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth yesterday on the Arcadia Roundtable. If you don't watch those podcasts, please do. But I will talk about it. Don't be angry. Don't type. You're driving. Fuck's sake. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like I was saying a moment ago to Gamsley, I'm still just running around doing Ubisoft style side content, which is not particularly compelling. The quality of the side content isn't brilliant. The game very much supports and promotes and encourages fast travel. So a typical session on Final Fantasy for me involves a lot of press the map button, see where the marker is, teleport to the nearest marker that I visited, go and do the thing, whatever the thing may be, bring up the map and teleport somewhere else and just follow the markers around the map like that. How many hours have I put into it? 16 and a half apparently. 16 and a half hours. and I've got nowhere. I don't know how legitimate that time is, because I do always in games there's a certain amount of time where I've forgotten that I've left it switched on or whatever, but not far off of 16.5. And I do keep up on all of the Chadley challenges, all of the like leveling up and pissing around with the transmuting and making stuff and all of that crap. You played Firewatch, Halo and Bolt Gun. So Bolt Gun I need to play. That came into Game Pass like a week or two ago, didn't it? It was already on my list of things I should get one day, but not high enough on the list for me to actually go for it. Baz, you've been playing SpongeBob, Warhammer Bolt Gun and Immortals of Avium. Is that because you were offered the £8 Immortals of Avium purchase? I imagine Immortals of Avium will be on Game Pass within a month, as they've just done that particular offer. But then you did say that you were going to cancel Game Pass anyway, so. And also, if you got an opportunity to actually like, buy it that cheap, I actually still think that's a pretty good game. Not gonna like set the world alight or anything. And I did. There's a review on this channel of Immortals of Avium that talks about what I do and don't like about it. But I don't have a high score on Peggle, Pete. So I did play a tiny bit of Peggle 2, and I didn't understand at all the mechanics, the core mechanic for how to seek a high score. So Peggle 2. For those that don't know, it's a game. I should bring up a trailer. I think everyone probably vaguely knows what it is, but I'm going to bring up a trailer anyway. Peggle 2 trailer. Launch trailer on the Xbox channel from 9 years ago. But it works. Boozy, you've been playing Forza Motorsport, you've nearly completed the car collection. I'm going to read yours. You've got quite a list. I'm going to get there in a second. So, Pete, I'm asking you a question here indirectly. On Peggle, as you go through the levels, and I've done the 10 tutorial levels, didn't enjoy it at all, to be honest. Didn't enjoy it, but I got through it anyway because I wanted to get involved in the high score battle that you've all got going on. But when it gets started, there are so many ways to get points, kind of like in a pinball game where everything is flashing points at you. You've got... on each shot that you take, that's already over. On each shot that you take, it makes one random peg purple for bonus points. You've got the red ones that you need to do to actually clear the level, and you get bonus points and multipliers for all the blue ones. And then you get bonuses at the end for having lots of shots left. There's a bucket at the bottom that gives you balls back. You can get all these like streaks and things. When you've got your turn, Pete, what broadly are you aiming to do on any given turn to maximize your score for the entirety of the game? Because I went at it and I went, oh, I don't actually know what the best approach to getting a high score is, because everything is trying to throw points at me and I can't be bothered to figure out what's the most efficient way to do this. Barry, it's most definitely Ghostwire Tokyo in the background. And I have no comments on Ghostwire Tokyo because this is the very opening of Ghostwire Tokyo, and it's about as far as I got in the game. Still got it installed. Oh, I don't actually. That was on my drive that failed. Ghostwire Tokyo is another one that's supposed to be quite good with the VR mod as well. Tony, you know what Peggle is. No, Tony, no. Baz, £8, you missed it last year. Can't go wrong with that price, and you used points, so you got it for £3. Level 9 of the Institute, I have a high score. The Institute is a tutorial, right? And I didn't deliberately get a high score. I am obviously naturally brilliant at games, so I do believe you, Pete, but I didn't feel brilliant at Peggle. I really didn't. And I didn't feel like learning it either. I figured maybe if someone tells me the correct strategy, maybe I'll go and nail all the high scores, but I just couldn't be asked. Boozy, so you've got Forza Motorsport, you're nearing a complete car collection. That sounds like a lot of work. You must enjoy the driving at the very least. I only play Forza Motorsport on the community, Gaming Arcadia community sessions, and I only play it because I like how easy it is to set up multiplayer. So my car collection has about 4 cars in it. I try to vaguely buy one in each category because when we're doing the multiplayer, I like to be able to select a car that I own, so I'm pretending that I'm making progress through the game, rather than using the rent car option that it has. but my car collection will never be complete. That might not even be true because we do play a lot of Forza, so who knows, maybe eventually I'll multiplayer grind my way to a complete car collection. Robocop Road City, I've got that on the PC ready to go. Again, could play that one in VR. Just need to, to get onto it. I don't know. I don't even know where that is on my list of things to get onto. I just know I've got it installed. And you've been watching the amazing RoboDoc. 4 hours about making the film. Never heard of that one. And Session, the Dark Souls of skateboarding games. Don't know that one either. There's a bunch of games there, so. Captain Awesome, you've finished Doom Eternal. I really liked Doom 2016 more than Doom Eternal. But Doom Eternal, I think, so I haven't done the Ancient Gods expansion packs. And those seem essential if you want to get the most out of playing Doom Eternal. So I need to get the, what's it called? I called it Ancient Gods or something. I can't actually remember, but there was part 1 and part 2 of this expansion content that basically rounded off and concluded the Doomslayer story, from what I hear. But in a way that's like, it's not side content. It's not a nice little bit of closure to something that was vaguely left open. It's like, this is the end of the entire Doom series. You should have played it, you fool, and I haven't played it. And you've done Deliver Me Mars, Hogwarts, and you're close to finishing Dead Island 2. I forgot about Dead Island 2. Forgot about that. Played it for like an hour and a half the other day. Painful Discourse, you're happy for the System Shock remake console announcement. Yeah, heard about that. I haven't played it last year. Will I play it this year? I don't know. Don't bother wait. Don't bother playing Ghostwire, is that, Ali? But I want to. Tony is MMO. I don't know what that tweet meant, Tony. I typed it. I hit send. It was done. Pete, it is pinball, is for sure. It's a mixture of luck and skill. No, but there has to be, like, there has to be a strategy that works. So you're right that there's the mixture of luck in that it's not always entirely predictable where that ball's going to bounce. But like the purple peg, do you aim for it? Do you just directly hit that every time to get a good score, or do you ignore it and just hope you get it? Do you try and clear out the blue ones in as few balls as possible? There has to be a strategy. Remake Station, why is Sony closing so many studios and cancelling a ton of games? Well, here's a reframing of that one. What do you think comes first? The cancelling of the games or the closing of the studios? Because there have been a bunch of closures and reductions and things, and there have been a bunch of games shut down, but which one is the consequence of the other? Are they looking at these projects in the works and saying this is not looking reliable, not looking solid, not looking trustworthy, so we have to cancel this project, and as a consequence of that, we can't keep this studio going? Or are they saying we can't afford to keep this studio going, and obviously we can't run the project without them, so it's cancelled? Which do you think? Obviously from the outside we don't absolutely know, but I'd be curious what your thoughts are. FTW could, no, don't derail my critical thinking, I don't even have it. Wait, what didn't I read, Tony? FTW, confusing. Oh, the Peggle thing, yeah, no, that was on purpose. Patrick, it would be odd to close a studio and still finish the game they're making. That's true, but do you think, like, which one led to the other though? Because we were talking about the Spider-Man game yesterday, and it's the, I don't know what to make of that actually, because we saw in the Insomniac stuff that leaked months ago, it said that Sony were looking to make 45 to 50 positions redundant in that studio. You'd have to assume that that's related to Spider-Man closure, but do you think that the Spider-Man game was the Spider-Man game looking shaky, the Great Web or whatever it's called looking shaky, so they got rid of those people? Or was it the other way around? That kind of implies they had to get rid of the people, so the game was the consequence rather than vice versa. You get what I'm saying though, about which way around it could be. Evening Quicksilver, how's it going? What are you playing? Pete, clear the lot, get purple as often and early as possible, and try to get skill shots, which are explained as you go along. So from that, you're basically saying always aim for the purple one. Try and clear out all of the blue ones and finish with as many balls left as you can, basically. Yeah. Captain Awesome, you assume to stop the game first so they stop spending the money. Yeah. Baz, you think that they would sell the studios instead of closing it? No, because everyone's downsizing at the moment. A studio, generally when a studio is bought within the industry, the value in the studio is the IP. Selling people is very difficult because people aren't actually tied to a company. So if you're sitting there as a, I don't know, a Microsoft or even like Embracer or whatever, and you want to buy talent, then you hire the talent. You can't just buy the studio. You can say like, Naughty Dog are really good, I'm going to buy them. Let's forget that, because Naughty Dog are obviously very tied up in Sony, and I didn't mean it as a console angle. But if there's a really talented studio, like who's independent and really talented, doesn't matter. This is a hypothetical, right? You can't buy a studio because you like the people that are in it. It's too risky, because if you buy the studio, kind of like when Sony bought Bungie, if you buy the studio for the sake of the people that are in it, and those people aren't actually that interested, then they can all leave and you've got nothing. It's the reason that Insomniac were only like 232 million and Activision were 70 billion, because Insomniac was a group of people that were very talented and they could leave. The only IP that Insomniac owned was Sunset Overdrive. So the value of buying Insomniac was the value of Sunset Overdrive and the fact that the studio runs well, but there's so much risk to that, because if those people leave, then you end up with nothing. So it's the same if Sony wanted to get rid of people, you couldn't really sell those people to another company very easily. You couldn't really sell that studio off very easily unless they went with IP attached, because IP is where the value is. Too many studios, not enough people. Condense the studios and fill all the vacancies in the other studios and make great games, not more games. Yes, Ali, that's... Selling people sounds like slavery. Well, the people are paid, so it doesn't sound like slavery in that sense. But I get that the wording sounds kind of that way. And the fact that there isn't slavery is why it doesn't work. It's why you can't sell people. Can't own them. Can't keep them. They should offer golden handcuffs to the staff, like Sony did with Bungie, because in that case the talent was what they were after. As didn't work very well, did it? Because a lot of them had to leave anyway. They offered golden handcuffs, and the people at the top manipulated the golden handcuffs to make sure that they landed in their laps. And that's what that was. Are you allowed to have your full beams on the motorway? I don't do that either. If there are cars on the other side of it. Some people definitely do, but I would not. Remake station, yes, that's just a face. I can't do that. Right. Oh, what you're not allowed to do though while they're on the motorway is use your phone to ask questions on YouTube. Does seem unnecessary and potentially dangerous. You've made me reconsider. In future, I'm going to have main beams on all the time because I like unnecessary and potentially dangerous. Spider-Man game was allegedly cancelled because they didn't have a good idea for progression. It could have been Painful Discourse. When you say allegedly though, who's alleging that? Where has that theory come from? If there's nothing coming the other way, it's entirely different, Pete. Captain, awesome. You really enjoyed Deliver Us the Moon and Deliver Us Mars. I've not played either, so. Grub, okay. Grub's normally got a good inside track. Okay, from Risket for the biscuits, 4 sources. That's messy, Ali. Do you know, the thing on that, and I'm not trying to drag Risket for this, but if you've got 4 sources, then just name them. You must be able to say who they are, right? You've not got 4 super sensitive embedded in Microsoft sources, so whoever these people are, you don't need to protect them. Just like if you've got real sources, tell us who they are. Where is this information coming from? Why are all these rumor people pretending that they need to protect their source? Because they're not. that's not how it is most of the time. You talk to like someone like Tom Henderson or whatever who's got direct sources within the industry. Yeah, they need to protect them. But if you've got 4 people telling you this thing, I don't believe for a second that you can't name a single one of them. Right? You can just say who they are, and then we can judge the validity of this, judge the strength of the rumor. Gaz also has sources. Painful discourse. I think Gaz is the root of this particular whole rumor. I think all 4 of the sources that Risk It has probably heard it from Gaz, and Gaz didn't feel confidently enough about that particular rumor to claim it as his own, but he did mention it publicly elsewhere on some spaces and things. Did I want to tweet this out? I didn't, Dodge. I didn't. But thank you for the suggestion. It makes a lot of sense. But the same thing, just depends where someone lives and what they call it. Oh, the freeway and the highway. Yeah. Angry noises. Don't make angry noises. You'll keep your family awake. You need to sleep, Darge. This is so Q&Asa isn't a Twitter kind of show, Darge. This is very much like, I could almost do this on our Discord server. It doesn't even necessarily need to be on YouTube. It's not a show that's going to bring in new people. It's not a show that needs to be advertised. I will push the podcasts and things more so. Darge is on Balatro on his Steam Deck, lying in bed making angry noises. Oh, stop it, Darge. I'm getting all horny. Good. I'm glad you got your Steam Deck back. It's on my channel. Don't downplay it. I am going to downplay it. Your video promos were useless. Twitter is useless. To me. It's not. That's not true. It's a useful tool, right? Don't do that. You need them to hear. I'm lost and confused. What are we talking about? Didn't get your pun. Oh no, I did Painful Discourse, but I wasn't sure if you were also aware of where the Hellblade rumor kind of started. Dodge. I'm not reading that aloud. I'm not doing it. You're going to make a promo video for the channel. It's funny you say that, Dodge. I actually need that. I do need an actual one. What is Dodge making angry noises at? That's a very fair question, Tom. Fortunately, I'm not sensitive to the angry noises. It can't possibly be me, because, you know, just couldn't be. Must be Balatro. Painful Discourse. That's why your pun was spot on. It was. Okay, props to you. Successful pun. Sorry for not spelling it out for everybody else that may not have got it at the same time. Pete, when Control was on Game Pass last time, you only played it for a few hours. Is the Ultimate Edition much different, or just some bundled DLC? It's just some bundled DLC. Actually, Pete, did the version that was on Game Pass before include the Series X enhancement? I can't remember. I thought that was just in the Ultimate Edition, wasn't it? Somebody answer Pete's question about what version of Control was included in Game Pass last time versus this time. Patrick, get in the Discord more. Patrick is very busy. He's not been on Power World for a long time, but he's very busy. As it was the basic one. It was definitely basic and not Ultimate Edition. So the basic edition of Control didn't have any of the Series X updates, is that correct? I know, like, all of that, the fact that the Series X updates were charged in general was a bit of a shit from 505. But I didn't know if the enhancements were also available on the base edition from Game Pass or not. Okay, well then now, Pete, give it another go, because that game would have pushed the Xbox One version hard. It's a good game. It's a demanding game. You can shoot everything. You can break so much stuff. What a wonderful benefit to Remedy getting control of Control, eh? When they paid their $17 million to get control of the IP, control of the sequel, control of the multiplayer, the game that they're doing. First thing they did was recoup a little bit of the monies from the Microsoft and put the good version on Game Pass. Which I'm gonna download and play that because I didn't finish it. Some of you specifically bought the enhanced edition due to the enhancement. Yeah. Like it's a game that's worth enhancing. So. Let's talk about what topics did I have today? I wanted to talk a little bit about, in fact, I want to ask you the question that I was asking on the Arcadia Roundtable yesterday. The question raised by something that Sean Layden said when he was talking about the length of games and whether they need to be long, whether it's beneficial, whether there's an audience for long games, or sweet babying, no, painful discourse, not that one. Rather not talk about that one. Is that true? Is that true? Yeah, let's skip that for the time being. So, whatever it was, the long games and the short games. Tony, you like it long. Give me examples. Have you played games where you've been like, oh, I wish this one was a bit shorter? Because I definitely have. I really liked both Horizon games, and I really wish they were shorter. And I liked Ghost of Tsushima, and I really wished it was shorter. There are many games that I wish were shorter, because time is really hard to come by. I have too many games that I want to play, and it would be really nice to have some games that I could just get on with and finish. Final Fantasy Rebirth is a bit lyrist. I wouldn't be unhappy if it had less side content. I can say that already. I've not got far through it enough to really complain. And it is one of those like landmark games that you want to make sure is kind of long enough, I suppose. But you're getting to that point with Dead Island. Final Fantasy VII Remake, for fuck's sake, it never ended. Yeah, you can see why though, because if Final Fantasy VII Remake had been short, people would have been outraged that it was split into 3 parts. So you're right, they did pad it a little bit too much. And they drew certain sections out to make sure that people didn't have hours as ammunition against the game being split into 3. But you can also look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, and whatever the last one is going to be, and totally understand that you have more than a single game's worth of game in there. But I don't know, tricky. Ubisoft games are way too long. That's also a good one, Captain Awesome, because are Ubisoft games way too long if you beeline them, or are they way too long if you try and do all of the side content? Because if you're a Ubisoft and you're making a AAA game or whatever, you kind of need to cater for people that don't want to spend ages. So you need to give them a direct route through the game from start to finish. But is it wrong to try and stuff it to the gills with bullshit content for the people that play a game like that want to buy a game and just play it for 6 months? So it's a tricky situation for them to get right. It's a mix of like the commercials of it, the budgets versus what money they can actually make from it, but also like status quo and expectations that people already have. And we've grown up with games that have been like 40 to 100 hours long since playing them on like the PlayStation 1 or whatever. So there's a weird perception and a weird tie between like it's not a real tie, it's not a real correlation, but there's a perception that the length of the game should tie to the price of the game in some way or another, and most people will completely disregard the idea that like they should be charged by the hour or whatever. But people do also have fairly clear expectations on how big a game should be for the amount of money that they're spending. You couldn't get into Avatar. Avatar's really pretty. And I couldn't get into it either. Kyle Flanders, you're not sure. It's tricky because the market is rejecting these long games. That's right. The market is... I wouldn't say the market has rejected like Assassin's Creed though, right? The biggest go-to example of a game that's too bloated, and the one that you use there, because you mentioned Mirage, there was definitely some vocal pushback on Assassin's Creed that made them say, hey, we need to do a shorter one to cater to the people that want that and remember the originals or whatever. But the other ones, Valhalla was massively successful. So it's not like the market was rejecting Valhalla and Odyssey and all of those for being too big. Just some people were, you know, some people were. And obviously being that big does take a lot of money and all the rest of it. Patrick, wait. Even though it's not a well-received game, you think Outriders has the right formula? A quick campaign for people that want in and out, and then an end game that you can play for 500 hours. Yeah, Outriders is the kind of exception to the rule that I would quite like to see more of. It's nice to see a game like that that wasn't made with live service in mind at all. That has a campaign you can play and has a breadth and depth of content if you want to play it for a while. But no intention to like continuously add more and keep you hooked on that and nothing else. Ali, you really went off of Assassin's Creed years ago, but you gave Odyssey a go last year and you loved it. Did you beeline Odyssey or did you do loads of side stuff? Outriders is like Remnant, one and done. But is that good, Tony? Or are you begrudging that? Because live service, a lot of people get upset about live service conceptually, and I don't get upset about it conceptually. Like, the concept is really, really simple. You give someone a game that they like, and then you give them more of it because they like it. That's not sinister and evil in itself. Obviously, it gets sinister and evil when the money people get involved and talk about how you can make sure none of those people ever leave and how you can make sure they keep on spending forever. But beneath all of that, at the most simplistic level, it's a game people like and you keep giving them more of it. So for me, there are too many games and I don't want to stick with the same one forever, but I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing either. Remake Station, the question should be what will make you buy a game on release or if at all. Yeah. Carl, you totally agree that they're not inherently evil, but they so often are evil, right? Like, they're filled with evil. Dark patterns are evil. They wouldn't be called dark patterns if they were nice. Still love that name. Remake Station. So Tony, you only buy on sale usually. I know that because you do make sure that everybody knows that, which is a fine way to play. Tony, what was the last game that you got full price? What are the exceptions for you? Because you said usually in a big uppercase. A Remake Station for me, I'm in a slightly unique position in that I do all of these podcasts and things. So sometimes I kind of should get things early just to be aware of them and be able to talk to them. But if you set all of that aside, and if I was just playing for my own sake, I like to think it would be exceptionally rare that I'd get a single player game day one. Yeah, it all really depends on circumstance though. Like, if I'm swimming in a ton of cash because I'm just swimming in a ton of cash, then of course I'll buy games sooner. This is why whenever it comes to conversations about the value of a game, how much is it worth, how much should you pay for it, I never tell anyone an answer, because you cannot answer that for somebody else. Everybody's like circumstances, priorities, and all the rest of it are gonna be very personal to them and vary quite drastically. So you can't put a correct price on a game, how much you should pay for it and when, because everyone's circumstances are different and unique to them. Which is, whenever I am doing reviews, which I want to get back to, I always have a value section in the review, and it tells you what you get in the game so that you can make a value judgment. It doesn't tell you like this isn't worth the price or this is worth the price, because that's never for me to say, really, is it? So weird one, that. Carl, you've never bought any form of DLC for any game, so the live service model doesn't affect you? Really? No DLC at all? Never played like an MMO or anything either. So one of the reasons that I'm so open to live service games is they kind of caught me before games as a service was really a term that the industry had embraced in the slightest. When Microsoft was still trying to chase the EverQuest model and all of that. When you had actual subscription games, I was quite happy to find a game that I loved and be able to play it forever, especially the ones like an RPG where you're investing in a character. I liked that those characters would last forever and I'd be able to constantly build on them. Warcraft kind of took that away a little bit in the way that it handled its expansions and the way that it kept kind of leveling everything off. But before that, Like everything that you were doing would still be meaningful 10 years later, and I liked that about it. It's a weird thing because I know like that's not. I'm not going to be alive for another 10 years, so it doesn't really work like that anymore. But it's not true. I might be. Phantom Liberty is one of the best DLCs in a long time. Yeah, it's curious that. So Carl, it's curious that you say you've never got any form of DLC, because some of them are. Like there's very many different kinds of DLC, but something like Phantom Liberty or Shadow of the Erdtree and things like that. Each to their own, but I see value in those. I can definitely understand never touching microtransactions and cosmetics and things like that. Remake Station used to play MMOs so much, but there hasn't been anything original in MMOs since like Guild Wars 2. And I wish Guild Wars 2, I played that at some point last year or the year before. But it's very much like messy now. Very messy, very Candy Rush. Sugar Rush, that's what I call it on that game. It's a Sugar Rush. You go on, it's got all these log-on rewards and dark patterns everywhere and everyone running around in absurd stuff because the game's run its course. Which is a shame. I'd love more of those though. MMOs are my favourite genre that I don't play. Because I've done them and enjoyed them and probably like had some of my best gaming times on them. But they don't fit me anymore and I still want to love them. Just not sure I can. Carl, you normally get your fix from the base game and then move on to something else. So I'm very much the same in terms of I don't like side content. I'll never chase achievements and things like that. I'm massively on the same page in terms of I like to play through the good bits of a game and then move on to a different game and play through the good bits. I don't want to hit bamboo, collect crap, repeat levels that I've already done. I don't want a new game plus. Now, there's exceptions where like Starfield will do something interesting with its new game plus, but typically I don't want to play a game again because there are too many other ones. I want to go and do the good stuff. I say, and yet there are definitely games from my teenage years that I absolutely want to replay. Yeah, takes enough time, I suppose. Isla, yours is survival. That's the genre that you want to love, but you just haven't got yet. You do, because Minecraft is a survival game, so you've put thousands of hours into survival games, and you still do. MMOs are fun, but can be massive time sinks, yes. And obviously, like, the current wave of MMOs, and really the old ones as well, are largely made by the social connections that you make on them and have on them and all the rest of it. So when I talk about how I used to play MMORPGs, they were very social experiences, and that elevates any kind of game if you get that going. But I'm very online antisocial now. You've seen me try and stream games like Helldivers, and I will not play with strangers, which rips the guts out of an MMORPG, because unless I know 20 people that are playing it, I'm not going to talk to the strangers on there anymore. And that, yeah, it just ruins it. And that's a me problem more than a genre problem. But JJ, you bought Mass Effect Legendary Edition and you just can't get around to it. Too much of a time commitment. It's like 300 hours of game, isn't it? I love Mass Effect and I really want to play that Legendary Edition as well, but how am I ever going to finish 300 hours of game when there are so many others? And I know I've done that one before, so I should stick to things that I haven't, but it's Mass Effect. It's pretty Mass Effect. I want to play it again. Which MMO did I play the most? Remake Station, I played Asheron's Call 2 the most, I hope. World of Warcraft may have overtaken it at some point, but Asheron's Call 2 was the one that I loved. World of Warcraft I have a love-hate relationship with, because it ruined many elements of the genre that I liked a lot. But it also did many things well as well. Final Fantasy XIV I've barely touched. Barely touched. Guild Wars 2, barely touched. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, whatever it was, barely touched. There's a bunch of them that I've barely touched. Typically when I play one like a modern MMORPG and identify it as a World of Warcraft reskin, which most of them take their like overall structure and progression and all the rest of it directly from World of Warcraft. I usually fall off at that point. City of Heroes, I played a little bit of that, and City of Villains. Those were good games, Pete. Chronic's been stealth editing comments. He's going somewhere. He's putting the suit on. Uh-oh. Don't know what's going on there, but have at it, you two. Both of those are MS games. Which two are MS games? What did I mention? Oh, Astronaut's Call 2. Wait a minute, Remake Station. You played 1 and 2. Nobody did. And if you played Astronaut's Call 1, then you didn't like Astronaut's Call 2, am I right? Because nobody that... This is one of the things that absolutely spoil... It was a lesson for the industry in general at the time, but one of the things that really made life hard for Turbine that made the game for Astronaut's Call 2 was that it wasn't the same as Astronaut's Call 1, and they supported them both in tandem. So the audience for Astronaut's Call 1 made a choice. They had the preferred Astronaut's Call 1 and stayed there, or a few of them would have liked 2 and moved over. But rather than having their audience and growing it, they took their existing audience and just cut it down the middle somewhere. One of the reasons that you don't have a World of Warcraft 2. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. And yes, it was Microsoft when it launched. It was Microsoft that were responsible for the communications on that game that didn't work in the slightest. And Microsoft that eventually sold it to Turbine to run directly, and Turbine that eventually closed it down. Turbine that eventually restarted it. Warner Brothers that ultimately put the nail in it when they bought Turbine. Astronaut's Call 1 had a lot more open world feel. You can get a good build and take on stuff way over your level. Yeah, like there'll be very few people here who care to hear much Astronaut's Call discussion, so I won't get into depth on that Remake Station. But if you are interested, there is an Astronaut's Call 2 emulator that is looking very good at the moment. It's not entirely there. You can't play the game in full yet, but impressive work that looks like it will get there. So I've been running around Arwick a little bit just to get the atmosphere. The US just banned TikTok. So from what I gather on that, it's not right. It's got through its first stage where they said we're going to ban it, and now it needs to go through their Senate or something. I don't really understand US politics and law. But I don't think it's actually banned yet, is it? Like if you're in America right now, you can still log on to TikTok. They'll be doing themselves a favour to get rid of it, but I hate that app. Remake Station, you were just searching for one. You wanted to play some more Astronaut's Call 2. You only played it for a few months. Are you on Discord, Remake Station? If you let me know who you are on Discord, I'll make sure that I can see you, but I'll send you a link to their Discord server. And the emulator's just, it's there, it's available. You download the client and they update the server on a pretty frequent basis. So you can get on and run around. Again, it's not the game yet, and when it does launch, it will probably be quite disheartening because you're obviously not going to get the feed of content that made it work when it was live. But still nice to see it and run around. Replicant, you love Star Wars Galaxies. That's one of the few that I regret not playing. It's supposed to have a really neat crafting system and all the rest of it. Heard many things about Star Wars Galaxies before it shut down. Tony, you have a TikTok channel, all of my face. That's sweet. Isla likes TikTok. Well, you still like it if Bobby Kotick buys it. You'll find ways to squeeze more money out of it somehow. Right. Patrick, you think we're due for an MMO that genuinely shakes up the genre? Not entirely sure how to do that though. I mean, I agree, but MMOs as a genre kind of got supplanted to some degree by the likes of Destiny that changed what it means to be a multiplayer game. World of Warcraft still has this really awkward limitation where, and like right now, I would get on World of Warcraft and set up a Gaming Arcadia guild and invite everyone to play it. But it doesn't work because it's not entirely open in that way. I can't play with people in America if I'm in Europe. I think they might have done some Horde Alliance crossover, but there's still server clusters and groups and all these kind of limitations on how open it is. Whereas the small scale, massively online Destiny-like model kind of solved a lot of those problems. And I don't consider it a substitute genre, but I think a lot of the industry does. Saying that, I'm sure they still look at Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft and see how much money those games still make. There will be like some appetite for it. They sit pretty... What? You're worse than Dodge. They sit pretty weird in terms of how they sit alongside subscription models and purchasing models and all the rest of it. But I didn't... No. I wanted to talk about... something else. I want to talk about... So keep talking about whatever that topic was. I've got lost now. I wanted to talk about something that Thomas Salla was saying. Thomas Salla is the publisher for... No, he's not the publisher. He's the solo developer for the Falconeer games and also for the Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles game that's coming out soon. I'm going to play a trailer for that in the meantime. It kind of looks really good though. But he was talking about, or he retweeted someone that's talking about, and he did quite an extensive follow-up on it, on how difficult it is in the gaming industry today for any game outside of the biggest, boldest AAA to get any attention or coverage whatsoever. So, that was a half topic for today. First of all, Bulwark as a game. Are you familiar with it? Did anybody play the Falconeer? Bulwark is a very different game to the Falconeer, but it's set in the same world that Thomas Salla has created. Falconeer was a flying shooting game, which had very distinctive visuals, very, very performant because of the way that he doesn't use textures and things and just uses color and shape and light to define his world. But Bulwark is a city building game that comes soon. And I want to know what you think of it, because that's relevant. We've had Thomas Salla and Mike Rose, which had on at the same time. They've both been quite outspoken at different times about how difficult it is to get coverage for smaller games from YouTubers and from journalists and mainstream press and all the rest of it. And how difficult it is to get your games to even be remotely visible on a storefront. Have you heard of Bulwark? Are people familiar with it? Carl, you feel like there's too many games coming out. You really wonder how smaller studios make money. Well, a lot of them don't. It is a problem that the game industry has in general. There are more games than there are people and time to play those games and buy those games. Bulwark does look cool. And you've played the Falconeer. Yeah. There's obviously, like, Replicant has been playing Balatro, and a lot of people have been playing Balatro, and apparently the developers of Balatro pretty much became, like, overnight millionaires because that game was really successful. So there are definitely cases where a smaller indie game can break through, but you also look at, like, we just had Final Fantasy, which dominated the conversation on at least the PlayStation side of things, but you've got Dragon's Dogma coming out in between, like, Horizon Forbidden West and whatever, Hi-Fi Rush, like games that people know about. Rise of the Ronin is going to struggle against Dragon's Dogma. So how is like an indie game going to get any attention when Dragon's Dogma comes out? You check Discord, but the boob room did nothing. You can't get in there, episode 13. Bulwark reminds you of that other game, Airborne Kingdom. I don't know Airborne Kingdom. Don't know it. I want to play Bulwark. It also has some, when I said earlier that Thomas Salla might rescue my Twitch interest, it has some Twitch integration to do some weird things, which is potentially a little bit of fun. So I intend to play it, but I don't know why this is a topic. I feel like I should cover Bulwark a little bit because the guy deserves it, the game deserves it, it looks genuinely good. Do we have, obviously some of you are playing Balatro, do we have any people here who specifically seek the smaller games? Or do you all get caught up in the wave of marketing for the few big ones? Game Pass might be the saving grace for these smaller titles. Yeah, Carl, the problem with that is Game Pass can be the saving grace for maybe 100 games a year, like if they're lucky. 100 games a year might go into Game Pass out of like thousands that release. So as a saving grace and a lifeline, that's problematic. And it's also problematic in that if you are one of those 1,000 games trying to get on Game Pass, your bargaining power is almost zero. So to get like good value for being on Game Pass, to get a good contract out of it, historically when Microsoft were establishing Game Pass, they were kind of by reputation paying quite well, but they don't really need to do that anymore. If games can't succeed off of a subscription service, then they don't need to pay much. So, and if anything, the fact that obviously on Xbox and on PC, the fact that Game Pass is there, exists and thrives and can be a lifeline for 100 odd games, potentially makes things even more difficult for the 900 games that aren't on it. Because everybody already has access to 100 games. So, episode 13, you've tried some cool games because of Game Pass. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against what Game Pass is doing and offering. It definitely doesn't solve all of the problems for the massive developers that are facing them though, and in some cases it will definitely make it worse for a lot of those developers. So, you're so guilty of not playing smaller games. So am I, Carl. It's like, again, partly I do podcasts and things, so I have to be aware of the things that people are actually talking about. But this is what Tom Masala was getting at. The issue that they have as smaller developers is that there are certain games that absolutely dominate conversation. So I couldn't go on to the podcasts on this channel or on the Game On Daily channel. I couldn't go onto those and not have anything to say about Dragon's Dogma 2. Because there will be an expectation that that is what is spoken about. And content creators across the board, not so much me on this one because I don't overly chase clicks and things, but content creators across the board are also going to be throwing Dragon's Dogma around wherever they can because that's what people are interested in and what people are clicking. And it's like, I don't know, what's the word? It's fueling itself round and round and round and round and getting more and more and more difficult. Captain Awesome, counterpoint, you find yourself buying things that you would not usually buy because of Game Pass. You are one of those people that Microsoft like to put on a pedestal and show the world and let them know that you exist, because there are some people like you. There are some people that try things on Game Pass and then buy them as a result. You're definitely in a minority on that though. For most people, if they've already got access to a game legitimately and legally, then they'll play it and put it away. And that's also like, that's not a criticism of them or you, right? Because no one's doing anything wrong in that scenario. It's nice that you're doing that you're willing to support those developers or whatever. Captain Awesome, did you do it because you wanted to like support the devs, or did you buy them because they were leaving the service? So episode 13 just said for Spiritfarer, you were it was leaving the service, so you bought it, which is reasonable as well. Topics of the week or day are killing podcasts. Even Iron Lords has been dull as dishwater. Well, it's especially for me boring when like a topic of the day I can handle, a topic of the week I can more or less handle, a topic of several months or years I can't handle. I get very bored of seeing a conversation just respun over and over again. Captain Awesome, not just that, you see something on Game Pass, you're saving money, so you have more to spend on games that aren't on Game Pass. Yeah, that's it will work out that way for some people. But do you have time? You might have money, but do you have time? Because Game Pass has like 400 or 500 games on it. Many podcasts are missing Activision Blizzard King for relevancy. Many content creators, the panic when they thought they might lose their console war a few weeks ago. Yeah, we're not talking about ABK today. We already did talk about Bobby Kotick buying TikTok. That was the rumor that went around. That's related to ABK. So I'm afraid we did talk about it, Patrick, indirectly. Boozy, you'd rather hear enthusiasm based on games played that encourage you to try something old on you. Yeah, that's why I, like all the podcasts that I do across the week, the Arcadia Roundtable, this one, and the Xbox Series podcast, they always sometimes I have to pause people because the topics, and this isn't a criticism whatsoever, the people that are on these podcasts with me are awesome. So Chris Cornell, Darge, Deadly Headley and Gamsley. are like brilliant co-hosts, and I'm really happy with that. But sometimes I do like specifically pull them back and be like, whoa, you need to talk about the game, because people feel like they can't talk about the game. They want to get onto the what's going on with commercial directions and marketing beats and all the rest of it. And I'm like, nah, but you mentioned a game and I really want to hear more about it. I just care about the games. I don't care what Sony and Microsoft are doing that much, not beyond the game. So let's not gloss over the games. Tell me about them. Don't die, Ayla. Don't die. Wear blunter garments. Soft-edged. Don't die. What do I think that the smaller devs should do? I don't have an answer, Kyle. It's, you can also turn the question around and ask what the platform holders should do. Like, how can the people that really do control the industry in that sense, what can they do to help the smaller ones? Because most of the things that are happening, most of the reasons that it's difficult for small games to get attention are not through malice or malpractice. You can argue like industry consolidation is a problem in that sense. The bigger certain players become, the harder it is for smaller ones to show themselves. But again, it's not malice. There's no one in the industry that's trying to crush small developers. And there are no storefronts that don't want you to see the games that you want to buy. It's just the natural flow of it, really. Like, the big games rise, they get the clicks, and because they get the clicks, they rise, and because they rise, they get the clicks, and it just goes round and round and round and round, and you just get, like, Dragon's Dogma is going to be the talking point, and I'm really looking forward to Dragon's Dogma because it looks like a freaking awesome game. But you got to feel for everything that's releasing around it, and it will happen with whatever the next game is, and whatever the next game is. It's just going to perpetuate. I don't know how to fix it. I can do my bit. I can play Bulwark and I can tell you about it. Fully intend to play Bulwark and can try and find more time to play more of these smaller games, but I am but one pathetic person who doesn't play nearly enough as it is, so not even played on my VR stuff for like 2 weeks now. Not good enough. Getting late here, episode 13. You're right, we'll wrap it up soon. We will wrap it up soon. Replicant, that level of curation helps a lot. If people want bigger open market, then Steam is there. But Steam is a curation nightmare as well. Steam is notoriously bad for small developers. And this is one of those things that there's not a correct answer. So, Replicant, you prefer Sony's approach, less titles enter the service? Sony I don't think many less titles enter the service. They did, because they would have had 3 on the base tier, and I think they released like 5 on the premium, whatever they're called, the higher tiers this month. So like month by month, I think both Sony and Microsoft are like between 8 and 11 games ish per month. I don't think there's a massive difference, and obviously Sony's catalogue has started bigger. They've got more games in it than Game Pass because they've got a more lengthy service or whatever. Games like Callisto and Forspoken are the games that are losing out big time. Immortals of Avium, that's a good example. And Callisto. Forspoken obviously got like dogpiled for quality as well, so it's harder to say for sure, but I guess all of those did. But yeah, many games suffer and get crushed under the weight of the big ones. Xbox does the day and date for first party. Yeah, Sony never really do day and date for first party. Xbox definitely pushes that, like flagship kind of thing. Carl, you loved Immortals of Avium. If you get a chance, please watch my review on it and tell me if you agree with the things that I say in terms of positives and negatives for it, because I actually liked it as well. But you know, maybe more people will get to like it now that it's been £8 and now that it's about to hit subscription services. Foam Stars wasn't first party though, episode 13. Foam Stars was also not a full priced game. It wasn't a blockbuster. It was like a 20-30 quid service game from Square Enix that went straight in there. Much like Destruction All Stars, which I think was Sony published, but wasn't a full price game and was a service game. I don't know. I had a thought and it's escaped. It has escaped. We've got like 3 or 4 questions. We'll get to those in a second. Tom, Rise of the Ronin, same day as Dragon's Dogma 2. Will it suffer? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. How can it not? And here's a different question, Tom. Rise of the Ronin, if it weren't PlayStation exclusive, so if Rise of the Ronin was a multi-platform game, still releasing on the same day as Dragon's Dogma 2, would it do better or worse? Because the only reason it's had like any attention really is because it is pushed by Sony on the PlayStation channel and all of the PlayStation shows. So yeah, would it be better or would it be worse? Obviously we don't like know the answer. Obviously if it were on more platforms it would have more people to potentially sell to, but it would also have less exposure. Like, it wouldn't be being pushed by the platform holders if it wasn't exclusive. So it would have less eyes on episode 13. Bigger audience, less eyes. Because I don't think Koei Tecmo have much marketing reach of their own as a publisher. Carl, you would buy Rise of the Ronin over Dragon's Dogma, but you're an Xbox gamer, but you love Team Ninja. Do you love Team Ninja? Do you love the Neo games, like the more recent Team Ninja stuff? Or are you a Team Ninja fan of old, from like Ninja Gaiden and Itagaki's Team Ninja? His name on it, Tanobu Itagaki. Hard times. How can you miss me? We were together just yesterday and I'm an arsehole. But yes, we miss you too, and Skull and Bones is going to happen and Mudrunners is going to happen. For sure. Booster Clan 70 base version, day 1 games. Can get to France. That's an interesting turn of phrase. I assume it's... I don't know what that means. That's fine. Depends. Xbox don't do marketing. Well, Xbox wouldn't have marketed Rise of the Ronin, would they? Even if it was multi-platform, unless they got a marketing deal with that platform holder. Chris is tied for best host on the round table. Dodge is in the top 10. It's very open. That could still be like, I'm following through some basic logic arguments and this could go anywhere. I like it, Patrick. Keep it like that. Tony misses Chris. Of course Xbox won it episode 13, but that wasn't really the question. Anyway, we're all agreed that in order to fix the industry, episode 13 needs to buy Rise of the Ronin for PlayStation. It's by far the best community, isn't it, Chris? Isn't it really nice? And if anybody is here that is not on our Discord server right now, please do get on our Discord server. It's like this but better because it's not me, it's everyone. It is good conversations, frequently running all the time, so try and get there, try and play the games with us. I am aware that Discord might not suit everybody, so if there are other things that make lots of sense, then I'll think about them, but for now Discord is the place to be. Criticize Foam Stars and Destruction All Stars, PlayStation, but also criticize PlayStation for having no games. Not me, Tom. Oh, I mean, Destruction All Stars was a long time ago. And was bad. And Foam Stars was bad. It's fair to criticize those games for being bad. Let's criticize everyone, especially the big corporations, eh? Sony and Microsoft. Don't trust any of them for anything. But I like playing games, and they do give me some. In order to fix the industry, a studio needs to help you make your game and a publisher to publish it. Patrick, I so want that to happen. I so want that to happen. Chris, have a good night. Matilda over on Twitch. Matilda, everybody else is on YouTube having conversations, so it's going to be very difficult to loop it all around, but we are rounding up. It's good to see, though. It's been a little while, so I hope you are doing well over there. Any hope for more gaming streams? Do you know, I'm really glad that you've asked that, because that's all the encouragement I need. Because I know that you are there waiting for gaming streams, there will be more gaming streams. Starting from tomorrow. What's the day today? What is today? Today's Wednesday, so tomorrow's Thursday. I'll do a gaming stream of some variety tomorrow before the podcasting stuff. And Friday, all of them. It's going to be loads. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yes. Good. Thank you, Isla. And thank you for popping onto Twitch and being present there as well as everywhere else. Captain Lawson, there's too many games and the market isn't growing enough to support everything. That is true. Which is why it's interesting when so many people, like in the kind of podcasty, influency space, so many people said what we need to fix the industry is loads more AA games. And the industry already can't support the amount of games that we've got. So I'm not saying that everything that everybody said was wrong, but just that it's not that simple. It's not that simple to fix. What's my Twitch handle? GameOn_Asa. Boozy the Clown. Normally, I'm actually would very much like to grow Twitch to be more practical and viable to stream things on, because it is a good platform for that. So, Remake Station, you think a lot of games don't need AAA graphics. There's something to that, but if you take every AAA game that we're getting and you carve it down into, like, you replace it with 2 AA games or 3 AA games, you don't solve the problem of there being too many games. You solve some of the budgeting issues, maybe. Sadly, the way that problem has been addressed has been by shrinking down the development workforce across the industry. Plus, if the industry stopped producing, your backlog would keep you busy for years. Yeah, I don't think I actually ever need another game. Boozy, thank you for hopping over to Twitch and following there. Is that Rise of the Ronin? Is what Rise of the Ronin? Hello, Boozy, in both places. Patrick, you think art style over photorealism would help a lot of games on the budget? It would. It would. But then at the same time, like, again, not just me, the same people that want people to stop investing in AAA budget games, the same people that will sit on stage and tell you, oh, we need to cut down budgets, are going to spend the next month telling you that Dragon's Dogma 2 is the best thing ever. So certain things aren't quite going to align, are they? But anyway, Unreal Engine 5 removes the visual quality as an issue for AAA to a degree. You're hoping that AA's look as good as AAA's moving forwards. There are, I mean, obviously you've got stuff like AI as well. There are ways for the gaming industry to spend less on making good games, and that makes some of the problems, again, makes some of the problems worse rather than better. When you talk about the pain of, like, the industry shedding people because it grew during COVID and all the rest of it, that's going to get worse when you can spend less on making games, because every place that you're saving on budget, you're also saving on people, so you're cutting jobs all over the place. So it is complicated. There is some rebalancing going on in the industry. There aren't simple answers to it. Unreal Engine 5 is kind of a pain to work in to you, but you're still rather a novice in it. What do you prefer to work in, Patrick? Did you do most of your learning on Unity or Godot or something entirely different? Godot, whatever it's called, you know your engines. I kind of want to learn Unreal. I started a little bit of Unity, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Boozy the Clown, they'd sell more if they weren't 70 effing quid. Absolutely agreed. Pricing needs to be decoupled from physical and needs to make sense for what the bloody game is. But everything you've actually made has been in Unity. I'm not going to ask you here, Patrick, but sometime in Discord when you feel like talking about it, you tell me what makes you prefer one or the other. And what are the advantages of Unity over Unreal and vice versa, because it would be interesting to hear actual hands-on feedback on that from my most trusted expert developer, which is Patrick. Episode 13, you loved about multiplayer where you mimic NPCs to hide. No, keep your stealth game. Stealth is for cowards and wankers. And you couldn't mimic anyone, you're too loud. Unless you can like mute your microphone, I suppose. Ronick, it's still new as a whole, the industry, so you reckon that we'll have more to work with in future? Well, Unreal Engine 5 is new, but Unreal Engine is definitely not new, is it? And 5 is an iteration of prior versions, so. Anyway, let's do our questions to round off the show, because sadly I need to round off the show. So, Isla, could you... It's already there, shit. I've got to turn my head that 90 degrees. So, Saitama has asked, with rising production costs for games every generation, do you think it was a major advantage of Nintendo having weaker hardware and saving on production costs by the limitations of it? It's definitely worked out in Nintendo's best interest to have shitty hardware and spend less on making their games. It's also massively worked out in their favor that a lot of their audience don't care. I don't know if Microsoft and Sony have the same luxury. You can put a game on a Switch that looks like dog shit, and there's a massive audience that doesn't care. And I'm not saying that that audience is right or wrong, but you can put out games on that system, and you don't even need to use like the Switch's hardware as an excuse, as it were. You can put out games at a lower budget, and they're fine, right? Whereas if Sony were to put out Spider-Man 3 and it was at the budget and stylings of a Nintendo game, they'd probably get like vomit through their letterbox. So, yes, Saitama, it's definitely worked out in Nintendo's favor. We'll see what they do with their next console. I have to think they're going to keep their development pipeline pretty similar to the way that it is now, though, right? And I actually like I like the look of a lot of the Nintendo games. I don't like the hardware and I don't like the performance of it, but for what it is, they managed to make them look relatively clean. They make them soft and clean. I don't like when I look at an image, and again, people perceive things differently on this one, but I much prefer a softer image over a jagged, over-sharpened image. And Nintendo managed to make their games look pretty clean, despite awful low resolutions. So, where's Saitama hiding? You can't see him in YouTube chat. He's Ryu in the YouTube chat, but oh no, he came up. Oh, I'm confused. You're right. He came up as Saitama on the question. I didn't know. No, he must come up as Saitama on the YouTube chat. He might have asked this question like hours ago. I don't know. Episode 13, why are you apologizing for being passionate? Every From game since Demon's Souls has done that for multiplayer. What? No. I'm lost on the conversation, so I'm going to skip that and let you talk amongst yourself on that one for a second. Could you give me the next question, please, Isla? If anybody wants to jump in, can we play Spy Party? What's Spy Party? Gamsley has yelled, Asa, I'm here, which isn't even true because Gamsley's not here. So, massive fraud. Massive fraud, but he was here earlier. And he will be here tomorrow for the Xbox Series podcast. Next question, please. I sound like a party for cowards. Cowards and wankers. You're right there, Captain Awesome. Gamsley has asked, what came first, Darge or the egg? Impossible question, that. No, it's not. It's definitely the egg. Darge models his head on an egg, so the egg must have come first. Next question, please. Darge has actually been around. I was going to say this channel. This channel's young. Darge has been around like the scene that I'm part of and supported me and being a friend for a long time. So there are no eggs that I like more than Darge, for what that's worth. Tony, am I a hugger? Why do I like it so much? If you say it's not true, Darge said the first thing that I did was hugged him. So Darge said that sarcastically, Tony. It's a British thing. Darge is very much a hugger. I'm very much not a hugger. I'm actually my worst thing in life almost is greeting someone and knowing how to do that. Hugs are uncomfortable. Handshakes and hellos are uncomfortable. I'm a socially awkward motherfucker. I'm not germ-phobic. I'm not like gonna start licking the floor or anything. I don't embrace germs that willingly, but I'm socially massively awkward. Spooner. Nothing to say to that. Let's have the next question, please. And everybody in chat, you tell me how comfortable you are with the hugs. Replicant, not a fan of hugs. Probably want to make sure you're sitting down when you meet Darge, then it probably won't stop him. Oh no, Barry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Barry, you're not going to like this. Barry has asked, what is your favourite Final Fantasy and why is it Final Fantasy VIII? Isla, I'm not lying at all. Actually, I'm really not lying. Final Fantasy VIII is not my favourite, Barry. I enjoyed the first 2 discs of Final Fantasy VIII. My favourite Final Fantasy is 7, but it's a cheating answer because Final Fantasy 7 was the first one I played. But Final Fantasy VIII had so... like, I reckon I would enjoy it more if I played it now, but when I played it fresh... You don't, Isla, you've not seen me interact with people. No. Episode 13, that's the weirdest thing anyone's ever said. So, my favourite Final Fantasy was 7. So 8... And it's funny because they did this recently with Remake. They on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, they did a brag that it was on 2 discs, which means that some part of the old Square Enix is still there. Final Fantasy VIII was on 4 discs. So Final Fantasy VII was on 3, and it was like we were kids playing games then, and that was a big deal. Like, wow, this game's huge. It's on 3 discs, and Square Enix lent into that and when put Final Fantasy VIII onto 4 discs. But the game ended after disc 2. The game was done after disc 2. You beat the main antagonist at the end of disc 2, and then you put in disc 3 and it goes, nah, she was being puppeteered by a crazy time space witch. It was a space witch all along. Do another 2 discs. And it was so, like, what? There were barely any, like, even loose ends left to solve at that point. Timey space witch. You enjoyed the latter half of Final Fantasy VIII even more. Fair enough if you take it in separation like that, but I was just like, no. You've done this because you needed to out-disc Final Fantasy VII. I'm ever so sorry for anyone that considers that a spoiler for Final Fantasy VIII. But at the same time, it might make the game better for you. You might be less disappointed than me when you hit that kind of moment. Pete, that's not simple. What if your friends don't like hugs? No, I'm like, just have to trust me, Isla's entirely wrong. There is nothing smooth about me. Apart from my shins, weirdly enough. Next question, please. Shut all your logic switches off, and Final Fantasy VIII is the best story in game history. I can't shut logic switches off. Smooth chess. No. Favorite GameCube game? I didn't have a GameCube. You tell me what the best GameCube game is. Skies of Arcadia. No, because even then that was like a censored version of Skies of Arcadia, wasn't it? He didn't say bastard. I don't have a favourite GameCube game. I skipped the GameCube entirely. And I know, episode 13, that you enjoyed. You enjoyed your GameCube. You said so before. I know you were a Sega person, but you liked the GameCube. Resident Evil 4 was the best GameCube game. That checks out. A lot of people loved Resident Evil 4. I stopped Resident Evil after Code Veronica. didn't play it again until I started streaming. So. Or the bongos one. What is considered a hug? Both arms around your waist from behind, or both arms around your waist, pulling you close, macho and beard to beard. Can't help you with that, Tony. I'm an awkward hugger and I don't understand proper hugging etiquette. So. The mansion one was beautiful. Luigi's Mansion. And Mario Kart Double Dash. I don't doubt that there were some good games on it. All those consoles have their little secrets. Things that the fans did appreciate about it, but I just never had a GameCube. Next question, please. Maybe I'll still get a GameCube one day, who knows? I did read it, episode 13, that was the whole question. I don't know what I've missed, but I tried to read it, episode 13, I did my best. Replicant has asked, I noticed another high-profile Xbox fan moving to a 4090 PC. With so many Xbox-centric YouTubers and podcasters having moved to PC, are Microsoft losing their core influencers? I said on the Xbox Series podcast last week, I said to Deadly Headley, you're now the biggest Xbox influencer that still uses the console. It's weird to me to see like that particular group are really scathing about the performance of the consoles, and I know that you're quite scathing about it as well, Replicant, but you can say that you've consistently held a certain standard for a long time, and I can say, like, I was fed up with the consoles performance wise probably in about 2009, like a few years into the Xbox 360. At that point I was all over PC, high spec, at least 60 frames per second gaming, high resolutions. I'd made my choice, that was what I wanted to play. And then in 2013, when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out, that didn't shift whatsoever. I was like, I don't like, as hardware, I don't like either of these consoles. I bought the Xbox One first because it had the Kinect, and that at least set it apart from the better hardware that I already had. So I got to do the PC snob thing for a long time, right? I got to do the you're only playing at 30 frames per second thing for a long time. But so many people were fine in 2010 to 2024. And then all of a sudden, they talk to people that enjoy consoles like those people are idiots. So you can't be an idiot for 14 years and then turn around and laugh at the other people that you now think are idiots. It's just weird timing. So, well, am I a PC snob though, episode 13? Because I'm trying to get into the Switch as well. Like, I'm a PC snob in that it can clearly be the best way to play. You can get better performance and all the rest of it. But I've always appreciated that that's just me, and it's not like the only correct way to play games. And I still say that now. I still like the Xbox as a console, and the people that still want to play on their PlayStation 5 and their Xbox Series consoles, if they're having a good time, like, why piss on them? Have at it, enjoy it. They're consoles. You can play on a Switch if you want. If you can, like, my wife doesn't care about graphics. She's playing on an Xbox One X at the moment. She's been playing Power World, and it looks like dog shit to me, but she doesn't care. She's having a good time, and I see no reason to piss on her fun for it. Isla plays Minecraft. Minecraft looks like Minecraft, right? And it doesn't stop her having any fun whatsoever. Nothing wrong with that. So if you're enjoying your Xbox console, enjoy your Xbox console. If you go with the wind and follow the sphere and suddenly feel the need to put down the Xbox fans that you were for the last 14 years, it's a little bit weird. You think they're being a bit disingenuous. Wait until they get their first PC problems and see how they get on. Boozy the Clown, your last PC had a Voodoo 3. Fair enough. Like, I still like using the consoles for simplicity sometimes. Tony's got a 4090. Tried to play Returnal, had to uninstall his sound drivers. Like, PC's not the be-all and end-all. Sometimes when I go into a PC game, I have to open a settings menu and start playing with graphic settings. I hate doing that. I'm a PC gamer that doesn't like doesn't like trying to tweak settings and things. So, fuck Returnal, piece of shit garbage game. Tony, is that because you don't like the game, or is it because you still haven't got it working properly? Minecraft is not beautiful, episode 13. Saitama's got a knife. Don't know why. Don't know why. There's a question. What's a question? JJ, so PCs aren't super difficult anymore. Like, broadly speaking, you can stick a PC on, connect it to your TV, and the experience can be almost console-like. It can be almost console-like, especially if you spend money and go way over the top on specs with like a 4090 or something. So it's not like it used to be, where you have to start like playing around with command prompts to get your games to run. It's nothing broadly, rarely like that. At the same time, you're going to run into some problems at some point. Everybody does. Everybody does. Just ask Chronic. Ask Chronic and ask Tony. They have all kinds of problems. So, truth is always somewhere in the middle. If someone tells you there's only one way to play, it's not true. It's not true. Have I seen Replicant's question? Yeah, we were just doing that. That's exactly what we're talking about, I think, episode 13. Patrick never has problems. But Patrick is literally a developer. So, you know, if you're up at Patrick's level, you won't have problems. I have problems sometimes. And I am literally a mug. I'm a mug. Literally, I'm a mug. Quantum Break is the only game that you tried to play that was just too broken for you. So what have I had to... I tried to play The Witcher 2. Patrick, you have a go at The Witcher 2. I tried to play The Witcher 2. Wouldn't launch. Launched when it was fresh. I played The Witcher 2 just fine when it was a new game, but I tried to play The Witcher 2 on my current PC. I've got too many processor cores, so it won't run. If I want to play The Witcher 2, I've hit Google, tried to figure out what I need to do to get that game to run. I can't just disable or set processor core affinity when I run the game. I have to go into my BIOS and physically disable like 3/4 of my processor if I want to have a hope of launching that game. No. Captain Awesome, you had PC problems with Forza, so it's quite handy to have a Series X about. Forza is a good example. So, have you heard pig step? Don't know what that means. Forza on the PC, I can play at higher settings than you can on the Xbox. Every time I launch it, I have to wait for it to optimize its shader cache. Not the end of the world, but coming around the last corner on its Japanese track, the made-up one, the Haxane track or whatever it's called. Every time I come around the corner, I get like some stutters and frame drops there on a 4090, just on this one corner every time. No one's going to fix that for me except me, because that's the difference between PC gaming and console gaming. If you get stutters on a corner on Forza, on the Xbox side of things, there's nothing you can do about it. That's the downside. You can't go and fix that. But Turn 10 can fix it for you. So there's differences between them, and there genuinely are advantages to the console. And I'm saying this as someone who's going to play Forza on the PC because I like those higher settings. I am a frame snob. I am a resolution snob. I am a ray tracing snob. I am all the rest of it. I am that kind of enthusiast. I just don't understand pissing on the people that aren't that kind of enthusiast. What's the exchange rate for shader cache this day? You can get nothing for it, Tom. Nothing. Trade it for a bit of extra frustration and nothing else. Next question, please. Isla's asked, what are you playing tomorrow at 4:30 sharp? Something good for a bedtime story so that I can nap to it. I wanted to play Enshrouded this week. I want to play Elden Ring. I want to play VR stuff, and I want to play multiplayer stuff, and I want to play Breath of the Wild, and I want to play everything all at once. So what I'm learning is the 4:31s don't necessarily work very well for multiplayer. Can't get people involved at that kind of time because the Americans are at work and the UK people are at work, and it's just a little bit awkward. So maybe Elden Ring or Enshrouded. Enshrouded obviously is multiplayer and people can jump in if they're about, but I could also dabble on my own. Maybe some Vampire. Need to get back on that. I don't know, Isla, that's the answer. If anyone has anything that they would like to see played in particular, then yell about it and I might ignore you or I might play what you're yelling. Next question, please. Even that, Isla, I might... No, episode 13. There will be no one to play Party Animals with at 4:30. Party Animals could come up for the community stream at some point. I'm willing to do that. Okay, here we go. We got a follow-up from Replicant's second question. Were so many popular Twitch/YouTube influencers? You're spelling it all wrong, Replicant. The term we use is influencers, because then they know that they suck. Okay, so second question. Were so many popular Twitch or YouTube influencers being PC-centric? Does this not lessen the appeal to consoles for younger gamers wanting to mimic their favorite streamers? See, you lost me a little bit on younger gamers because I don't know or understand them, and I don't know what kind of influencers they actually follow. Generally, I've got 2 kids that I would consider younger gamers. If I go to their room and they're not watching like an Aiden Ross or something like that, I consider that a win. I don't know if the content creators that they follow, and it is, oh damn, if you're a parent, like, keep up with this shit. It is not easy, but keep up with what influences your kids are into. Like, one of the most important things you have to do as a parent is try and be aware of this, because they'll watch some shocking stuff otherwise. I don't know who influences children and whether they, like, what kind of content they're playing. You get a whole wave of content creators that specifically build their audience on children by playing Roblox and stuff like that. I'm not sure younger gamers care about consoles anyway, like influencers or otherwise. Don't know, Replicant, don't know. It came from your girlfriend's nephew wanting a PC and no longer his PlayStation 5. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it does come down to influencers, right? I suppose these people that are targeting them. Oh, do you know what your girlfriend's nephew actually wants to do on this PC? Is it? It's got to be Roblox, Fortnite kind of stuff, isn't it? I think ultimately, like, this generation that's coming up through gaming at the moment, I don't know that it matters that they're not into consoles, but they're not into consoles, and I don't know if that's going to change. Well, he likes RPGs as well. Maybe they want their PC so that they can become influencers. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know the answer. It's again, that comes back to what Sean Layden was saying in his interview about the audience for, like, the console kind of game experience being older and richer and less time rich. The reason that the audience is kind of maturing in a certain way is because it's not being replenished from the bottom. Kids aren't getting into consoles particularly. Captain Lawson, you've explained to your nephews they don't need a PC for Roblox and Fortnite, but they aren't having it. Both of my kids gravitate towards PC. They've got Xbox Series S's in their room that they never touch. Never touch them. They've got Game Pass Ultimate, so they can get Game Pass games on their PCs or their Xboxes. Never touch them. I've got one lad that plays a lot of Terraria. One that's playing Apex Legends and Roblox. But the way they engage with games is just so different. And I don't think either of them are... It's hard to say where it stems from entirely. Like, the influencer thing, I don't think they're directly picking these games based on influencers, but they are directly picking these games based on what their friends are doing, and their friends might be taking this from influencers. So tricky. Don't know the answer, Replicant. Talking about streaming too. Bleh. Right. I like streaming, but kids shouldn't do it. So, next question, please. It's a good question there, Replicant. It is quite an interesting thing. Same with the young ones in your family. Shunning Game Pass was sad but true reality. Yeah, It's weird to see all of these games, and I keep telling them, like, you're not going to grow up right if you don't play games with stories in them. Stop playing Roblox. Play proper games, or you'll never understand what it means to fall in love and explode dragons. I don't know what you actually learn from games. But episode 13 has asked, loud. I always ask you if I'm being too loud or getting too excited. I always say yes, episode 13, every single time. I hope the ducks slow me down for a week. That's very fair. A little bit cruel, because they will do that, but very fair. I'm only messing, episode 13. Please don't be all sensitive and take that personally. Next question, please. Which is the worst Final Fantasy and why? Saitama. Final Fantasy 15 is the worst. So I have to say I haven't played 1 to 6. I would like to play some of those in the Pixel remaster. But from then on, 7 was brilliant. 8, I was disappointed by the way that it did its extra discs. But up to that point, it was very, very good. And I think if I went back to it, it would be very, very good. 9, very, very good. Not as good as 7. At the time, better than 8. Very cohesive. So it leaned more into the kind of whimsical fantasy. Everyone had like tails and fluffy ears. So I didn't actually like the setting quite so much as 7 and 8. But it was a very good game. 10 was good. Voice acting off, but good game, interesting story. Never played the extras on 10. 10 part 2 with the I can't remember, dressing up the girls to change their job roles and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think that was a real Final Fantasy game. 11, online game, difficult, probably really good. I played a bit of Final Fantasy 11, one of the many older style MMO RPGs pre the influence of World of Warcraft, but it was really, really party driven. I didn't know many people that played it. I like that it was really, really party driven. It kind of forced you into a group, but it was a PlayStation 3 game at its heart. So everything felt kind of small as you traversed around. Definitely not the worst Final Fantasy game though. Quite cool for what it was. Final Fantasy 12, never played it. Regret never playing it. I bought it at some point. I think you fly in on like a Zeppelin or something and you walk up, and it went into its first combat thing and it drew all of these lines, and it was so unfamiliar and so different that I forgot to carry on. So 12 is my most needed to go back to Final Fantasy, because I never did it, and I reckon maybe it's good. Final Fantasy 13, rightly criticised for being too linear, rightly criticised for chasing action too hard. Probably really good to go back to. Correct answer, Lost Odyssey is not the worst Final Fantasy. Lost Odyssey was brilliant. What are you talking about? Saitama, you didn't like Final Fantasy 12. It put me off horribly with its combat changes. But 13, I think Lightning is possibly a cool protagonist. Apparently 13 Part 2 and Lightning Returns fixed a lot of problems that people had with the first game. It had style, it had cinematics, it had a good world, but it was very, very linear. And I think at that point in time, I wasn't looking for linear, I was looking for Final Fantasy 7. I reckon if I went back to 13, I would enjoy it. 14, obviously the online one. World of Warcraft reskin. You'd think that I would love it being set in Final Fantasy worlds when I love Final Fantasy, but I hate Moogles, and Final Fantasy 14, I don't think it does it anymore, but each time that I played it in the past, it started off with the most like campy, lame, Moogle infested start to the adventure, and then it just wasn't good. Apparently it gets really, really good at the end though when you start hitting the expansion content, and people love it. It's supposed to be filled with good music. Not the worst one. Final Fantasy 15, that's the worst one. Weird. Tony likes it, but Tony's wrong. Weird boy band vibes with a strange car. The worst elements of Ubisoft map design. Half the story was told through like outside of the game and films and stuff, and 15 was the worst one. It had some freaking awesome music like all Final Fantasy games do, Replicant liked it, but 15 was the worst one for me. 15 is the reason I think I'd probably like 13 now if I went back to it. I didn't really like a lot of 15 at all. Barry says 15 is awesome as well. So we've got quite a few Final Fantasy 15 fans here. Noctis was meh. Ignis was meh. Can't remember the other guy's name was meh. Can't remember the other guy's name was meh. No, 15 was meh. You're not gonna convince me on that. And 16 I haven't played yet. 16 I'll play when it comes to PC. And 7 Remake was freaking awesome. So much better than 15. And 7 Rebirth I'm working through at the moment. X2 was a girl group game with singing. I know that it was, it just took the girls from the game and made you change their costumes to control their abilities and stuff. Probably did have some singing. Probably was terrible. But I don't consider it a Final Fantasy game because it was just like a side game that you weren't supposed to play. Gladius and Promptu, yeah, whatever. Terrible characters. Terrible characters. Stupid boy band game. Sorry, Isla, we're nearly there. Next question. If there are any more. Episode 13 is asked, who's the biggest plonker that you know? Also, read out, cheers plonkers. So, episode 13, the biggest plonker that I know. Do you mean by mass, height, level of plonkerness? I don't have an answer for that. Gaz is a small plonker. Tom, thank you for gifting the membership. Whoa, that text is big. But it works, it just about fits on. Much appreciated, thank you. Boozy the Clown, if you're not already on the Discord, do get over there, it's a good place. Not had Plonker in a while. You really do have episode 13 muted, don't you? He says it all the time. All the time. I think episode 13, you're the tallest in the Discord server, so it's you. Next question, please. I'm the only one that can say those things about 8 and 15 without triggering you. Yes, that's a power. Thank you, Barry. Barry, what's your favourite Final Fantasy? Chronic has asked, are all Canadians like Gamsley or is it unique? I'm fairly certain that Gamsley is unique. I don't know many Canadians. I know a couple of people that went and like moved over to Canada, but he said 8's your favourite because you asked what's your favourite and why is it 8? Can you tell me why? Did you like Final Fantasy 8 because of like any of the combat mechanics? Did you like it because you like the characters? Did you like the setting? Did you like, what is it that makes 8 the best one? Didn't people hate Crystal Chronicles? I forgot about the weird Final Fantasy games, and there was World of Final Fantasy. Like there's a million Final Fantasy games besides. I was kind of focusing on the mainline ones when I was trying to answer. But you play Final Fantasy on the SNES, not sure which one. Either 5 or 3. I thought the only ones that came over, I thought it was 6, which was called 2 over here. It was all a little bit messy before Final Fantasy 7 as to what and where they were. Next question, please. Oh, you had a US copy, very fancy. Oh no, we read out questions, but that's good because Isla wants to go to sleep. So, I think that's 2 hours of this done, despite going into it with no topics and no plan. Barely even a thumbnail. Isla put a thumbnail together minutes before because she's like saintly and helpful. Quicksilver, you also say you love the characters and the setting, and the game went everywhere. I reckon I'd love Final Fantasy 8 if I went back to it now. One of those things where when you go back to it with an understanding of what we've lost since then, it would probably hold up amazingly well. So, literally, I have Final Fantasy 8 installed on the PS5. I figured maybe I should play it on the Xbox because the back compact's usually better over there. Anyway, that is the end. So I'm going to press the end button. So enjoy your sleep or your games or your dinners or whatever it is that you are. Oh shit! I haven't eaten, literally haven't eaten a single thing today, and now it's gone midnight. I mean, like the day that's gone, like the 24 hours that are gone, I forgot to eat anything. Never mind. Enjoy what you're doing, everybody. Cheers, plonkers.
on daily.